And good morning, Nancy. Thank you and welcome to the Dutch Mentor. Today we're going to continue our series of keys to success. And as we had an opportunity to chat a little bit, they have a very interesting background, which I think would be beneficial to all of the emerging leaders. So the time is all yours. Take it away.
Well, thank you, Walter. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. I was thinking a lot about my progression through leadership. I started as a registered nurse. I was in strategy and business development for a little while. I was in operations. And I've had the opportunity to see a lot of leadership, be a leader myself, lead others. The biggest component to success as a leader, though, I believe, is learning how to lead yourself. Right? So when we're thinking about keys to success in leadership, there are three things that I think are paramount that will help a leader succeed. And that first one is to know thyself. So being self-aware, right? And when we're thinking about being self-aware, people might be, well, what does that mean? Of course, I'm self-aware. Well, thinking about number one, what are my values, right? As a leader, as a person, and how do I bring those values to work? And how do they align in the workplace, right? So how do I lead with my values? Understanding my strengths and where I best use my strengths. Understanding where I may get triggered, right? So we all have, triggers that, get our emotions, get the best of us, right? Understanding what those are, being aware of them, but then learning how to manage them so they don't derail us off of our path for leadership, right? So the self-awareness is my first key to success for leaders. The second one is emotional intelligence. And it's related to self-awareness because when you're thinking about emotional intelligence, you first have to have that awareness of self, right? So where do I get triggered with emotions? How do I regulate my emotions? How do I express emotions, right? And then understanding in different kinds of situations as a leader, how is it best to use my emotional agility, right? So when is it important for me to be quiet? When is it important for me to be assertive? When is it important for me to show emotion? And when is it important for me to be restrained, right? So thinking about the full continuum of emotional intelligence and then bringing that component of self-awareness back into it. How do I manage stress? How does that manifest in my leadership or not, right? And if what do I want to change about that, right? Or how do I want to grow and develop in that area? And then the last one, I think, Walter, is relationships, right? Everybody heard the saying, there's no I in team, right? Well, there is an I in leadership, but leadership is not about me. It's not about the self. We use components of the self to lead. But when I think about relationships, leadership for me and where I've had the most success is with this view. It's understanding self and then learning how to use self in the best way to work with and through others, right? So you are nowhere as a leader without your relationships. So especially as a new leader, right? If you're new into management, you're new into the leadership realm, starting to think about your relationships up, down, across, and outside the healthcare organization to figure out how can you make yourself the best asset that you can in your organization, whether you work for yourself or you work for a company, and then how do you best utilize that self to work through and with others? So those are my three keys: the self-awareness, the emotional intelligence, and the relationships.
I think it is actually very tight. I can certainly relate to all of them very well, and I believe that the impact to make to people's heart and minds, not by hooting, hollering, stressing, and directing people, right? And I think by starting by self-awareness, as you say, is paramount. And the only thing I would add to that is the blind spots, right? Is that really the relationships, which is your third component. If you have these strong trust bonds with people who can then help you see those blind spots, even to high self-awareness and EQ, you might not be really aware about, and then find somebody to help and coach you around that. Well, wonderful. We'll keep it at this. Thank you very much for joining us today at the Dutch Mentor for the keys to success. And I'm sure this will be very beneficial to many.
Thank you.
Thank you.